The MiG-31 Foxhound, Russia's Cold War sentinel of the high frontier. In the vast, desolate expanse of the Soviet Union's northern frontier, where the Arctic Circle meets the stratosphere, the MiG-31 Foxhound stood as a sentinel of the Cold War's most dangerous skies. More than just a fighter jet, the Foxhound was an airborne weapon system designed for one purpose: to intercept and destroy high-speed, high-altitude threats before they could reach Soviet soil. Conceived during the height of East-West tensions, the MiG-31 represented the zenith of Soviet aerospace engineering, a fusion of raw speed, powerful radar, and long-range weaponry that made it one of the most formidable interceptors ever built. Even today, decades after its introduction, it remains in service with the Russian aerospace forces, a testament to its enduring capability and strategic relevance. Genesis of a hunter. The MiG-31 story begins with its predecessor, the MiG-25 Foxbat. Introduced in the 1970s, the Foxbat shocked Western intelligence with its Mach 3+ speed and high-altitude performance. However, its capabilities were more myth than reality for many missions. While fast, it lacked agility, had limited avionics, and could not effectively engage multiple targets. As NATO began fielding advanced cruise missiles and supersonic bombers like the B-1 Lancer, the Soviet Air Defense Forces, PVO, recognized the need for a more sophisticated interceptor, one that could detect, track, and destroy multiple threats simultaneously, even in the most extreme conditions. Enter the MiG-31. Developed by the Mikoyan Design Bureau in the late 1970s and first flown in 1975, the Foxhound was not merely an upgrade but a complete reimagining of the interceptor role. Though it shared the MiG-25's general silhouette, twin tails, large air intakes, and swept wings, the MiG-31 was built around new technologies that reflected the Soviet Union's response to evolving Western air power. It featured a redesigned airframe using more titanium and composites for better performance at high speeds, more powerful engines, the D-30F6 turbofans, and most critically, the Zaslon, NATO, Flashdance, phased array radar, the world's first operational airborne phased array radar. Eyes in the sky, the Zaslon radar. The Zaslon radar was revolutionary. Unlike traditional mechanically scanned radars that moved a single antenna to search for targets, the Zaslon used electronically steered beams to track and engage multiple targets simultaneously. Capable of detecting a bomber-sized target at over 200 kilometers, 124 miles, and a fighter at up to 100 kilometers, the system could track up to 10 targets while engaging 4 with its long-range missiles. Moreover, it could detect low-flying cruise missiles, a formidable challenge due to ground clutter, by using look-down, shoot-down capabilities that earlier Soviet interceptors lacked. This radar transformed the MiG-31 from a point defense asset into a wide-area patrol platform. Operating in pairs or small formations, Foxhounds could cover vast sectors of Soviet airspace, coordinating via data links to share targeting information. The pilot and weapons systems officer, WSO, seated side by side in a pressurized cockpit, formed a two-man team that could manage complex engagements without relying on ground control, though they often worked in concert with the Soviet early warning network. Speed and altitude. The Foxhound's domain. The MiG-31 was built for speed and altitude, with a top speed of Mach 283, around 3,000 km/h or 1,860 mph, and a service ceiling of 2,600 meters, 7,600 feet. It could climb at a rate of 208 meters per second, faster than most contemporary fighters could even accelerate. This performance allowed it to intercept high-flying threats like the SR-71 Blackbird, though the SR-71 typically operated beyond even the Foxhound's reach, or the emerging threat of stealthy cruise missiles launched from standoff distances. Its D-30F6 engines, developed specifically for the MiG-31, featured afterburners and variable intake ramps to manage airflow at supersonic speeds. While fuel-hungry, the aircraft's internal fuel capacity was enormous, giving it a combat radius of approximately 720 km/k, 450 miles, without external tanks. With in-flight refueling, the Foxhound could remain on station for hours, patrolling the Arctic or Far Eastern approaches to the USSR. Armament long-reach teeth. The MiG-31's primary weapon was the R-33 NATO AA-9 Amos, a long-range air-to-air missile derived from the naval S-300 surface-to-air system. With a range exceeding 120 kilometers, 75 miles, and later variants like the R-33S and R-37 pushing that beyond 300 kilometers, the R-33 gave the Foxhound the ability to engage targets well before they entered Soviet airspace. The aircraft could carry 4 R-33s semi-recessed under its fuselage, minimizing drag while maximizing range. In later upgrades, the MiG-31BM and MiG-31K variants gained compatibility with the R-77 AA-12 adder for medium-range dogfights and, most notably, the hypersonic Kh-47M2 Kinjal ballistic missile. The Kinjal, essentially an air-launched version of the Iskander missile, can travel at Mach 10 and carry conventional or nuclear warheads, giving the MiG-31 a strategic strike role unforeseen by its original designers. Operational doctrine and Cold War reality. Unlike Western multi-role fighters, the MiG-31 was never intended for dogfighting or ground attack, at least not originally. Its role was strictly defensive: detect, intercept, and destroy. Soviet doctrine envisioned the Foxhound operating in coordination with surface-to-air missile systems and ground-based radars, forming a layered defense shield. Patrol zones, particularly over the Kola Peninsula, Siberia, and the Pacific coast, were constantly monitored, with MiG-31s on quick reaction alert, ready to scramble within minutes. Notably, the MiG-31 never fired a shot in anger during the Cold War, but its very existence served as a deterrent. NATO planners had to account for the Foxhound's speed, radar, and missile range when designing strike packages. The aircraft's ability to operate in extreme cold, its rugged landing gear for unprepared runways, and its all-weather capability made it ideal for remote, Arctic bases where few other fighters could operate effectively. Modernization and second life. After the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, the MiG-31 fleet faced an uncertain future. Budget cuts grounded many aircraft and the perceived threat of massed bomber attacks diminished. Yet Russia, recognizing the Foxhound's unique capabilities, chose not to retire it. Instead, it launched a modernization program in the 2000s that culminated in the MiG-31BM, Bolshaya Modernizatsiya, Big Modernization. The BM variant features a glass cockpit with multifunction displays, a new Zaslon M radar with improved range and target discrimination, compatibility with modern missiles like the R-77 and R-37M, and a digital data link that integrates it into Russia's broader air defense network. It can also carry anti-radiation missiles like the Kh-31P to suppress enemy air defenses. Perhaps most dramatically, the MiG-31K was modified to carry the Kinjal hypersonic missile. First used in combat during Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine, the Kinjal-equipped Foxhounds launched strikes against Ukrainian infrastructure, demonstrating that a 1970s-era airframe could still deliver cutting-edge weapons. This adaptation has extended the MiG-31 service life well into the 2030s, with Russia reportedly planning to keep the aircraft operational until at least 2035. Legacy and strategic relevance. The MiG-31. Foxhound stands as a monument to Cold War engineering philosophy. Specialization over versatility, power over finesse, and strategic deterrence over tactical flexibility. While Western air forces moved toward multi-role fighters like the F-15 and F-16, the Soviets doubled down on dedicated platforms, none more potent or singularly focused than the Foxhound. Today, the MiG-31's role has evolved. It is no longer just an interceptor, but a high-speed launch platform for hypersonic weapons, a reconnaissance asset in the MiG-31D variant, and a symbol of Russian air power resilience. Its speed remains unmatched among operational fighters. Only the retired SR-71 and the experimental X-15 have flown faster in air-breathing configurations. Critics argue that the MiG-31 is outdated, a relic in an age of stealth and networked warfare, yet its combination of speed, radar power, and weapons reach ensures it remains relevant in specific scenarios, particularly in vast remote theaters like the Arctic or Pacific, where loitering drones or stealth fighters may be less effective. Moreover, in the context of Russia's current military doctrine, which emphasizes long-range precision strikes and strategic deterrence, the MiG-31's Transformation into a hypersonic missile carrier is not an afterthought, but a deliberate evolution. Conclusion: the MiG-31 Foxhound was born in the shadow of nuclear apocalypse, designed to race across frozen skies at twice the speed of sound to meet invisible threats before they could deliver their deadly payloads. It never fought the war it was built for, but its legacy endures. Not as a museum piece, but as a flying testament to the Soviet Union's engineering prowess and Russia's ability to adapt old tools for new wars. In an era where hypersonic weapons and strategic air defense dominate military headlines, the Foxhound's roar still echoes across the high frontier, reminding the world that sometimes the old guard still has teeth.